Our policy has been firmly opposed to a expansion of the communist sphere or to an expansion to foreign policy adventures by communist countries. Therefore, to the extent that North Vietnam was engaging in systematic aggression against all of its neighbors, it was absolutely consistent with our policy that we would resist that. To us, the policy of relaxation of tensions with the two major communist countries does not presuppose any degree of ideological approbation. It is a practical accommodation to new realities, and it does not go so far as to acquiesce in any foreign policy adventures. And therefore, at the time of the Jordan crisis of 1970, the building of a submarine base in Cuba, the Middle East crisis in 1973, the administration always reacted with extreme firmness to what we perceive to be foreign policy challenges by any of the communist countries. And I think the American public will have to understand that on the one side, in the age of nuclear superpowers and the capability of destroying tens of millions of people in a very brief time in a war, that the problem of peace is of great consequence. But at the same time, not to disarm ourselves where we will not resist foreign pressures. Now, this requires a more sophisticated, a more complicated perception of the international environment than was possible in the 40s and 50s. But I see no inconsistency between resisting foreign expansion and attempting to moderate the conduct of the communist countries at the same time.
In recent years, American empire has increasingly faced criticism from across the political spectrum. Even as the Biden administration moved to terminate a generation-long war in Afghanistan, at least officially, the United States continues to maintain a vast overseas military presence. At the same time, it continues to intervene both directly and indirectly across a host of different theaters, from East Asia and Latin America to Africa and the Middle East. Although American political elites might disagree on specific aspects of imperial strategy, the notion that the United States has the moral right to exercise power overseas remains hegemonic. What explains this uniformity of opinion amongst political elites? What is imperialist realism? And what are the prospects for ending empire? We'll ask these questions and more. This is Revolution.
For a while we say a lot about this word, everybody's using this word now, empire, there's another word that's missing. There's another word that's missing that's very closely related to empire, and nobody ever uses it except a few of us. And that other word is imperialism. Now, isn't that fascinating? How can you talk about empire without ever mentioning imperialism? Because imperialism is the process of empire. Empires do imperialism. That's what they do. They do imperialism. It's like going to a medical conference of pulmonary specialists and they're all talking about our lungs and never once mentioning breathing. You know, so you got to say, what is missing from this picture? Well, imperialism is not only the process, it's the political, economic content. Imperialism is when the ruling interests of one country expropriate the land, the labor, the natural resources, and the capital and the markets of another country. Imperialism means plunder and tribute. Empires are not just all about power. It's not power for power's sake. Nobody goes out and just goes and does power. Oh, let's go to Africa and conquer chunks of Africa because then we'll feel more powerful. You know, you go to Africa because there's something there that you want. It's one of the richest places in the world. That's where you got, I mean, tin, copper, diamonds, gold, hemp, timber, human beings, slaves, all the stuff that enriches you. That's what King Leopold, he didn't have any grudge about the people in the Congo. He didn't care one way or another about who they were, where they were, whether they lived or died. He just wanted them and work them in those mines so that he could get richer and richer and richer. So it's not power for power's sake. It's power to get your wealth, and using your wealth to increase your power, and using your power to maximize and secure your wealth. That's what it's about. That's what the guys who are in the White House today are doing. So it's plunder, it's tribute, it's these rich resources, it's expropriating the land, the crops, the cheap labor. Empires are enormously profitable, mostly for the ruling and investing class of the imperial country. Empires are enormously costly for the common populace, both of the targeted country and of the imperial country itself.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.